This is cool. Straight ahead, Helen. Straight ahead. And here. Looking up this way. Helen, just straight ahead. Can you look straight ahead? Helen, straight ahead, please. And this corner, please. Straight ahead, please. Right, please. And look up. Helen, left corner, please. And over here. Left, please. Helen. Helen, one more here. And Helen in the corner. Helen, one more. Helen, go. Straight ahead, please, guys. Straight ahead.
Guys or guys?
Yeah.
Right here in the middle, please.
In the middle, please.
Did you look up in the middle, please?
Please.
Put the right first.
Just round to the left-hand side, please. Corner, please.
Corner.
And to the left corner, please. Together.
Look together, look at the corner.
Right in front of you.
You guys very hot.
Can you look straight forward? Once more, straight forward down the center. Please, here, center. To the right will be nice. Would you be so kind to start here in the corner? Yeah. Sorry, everybody please look up. Thank you.
All together right here, please.
This way. Helen, well, your black glass here, please.
Very nice.
The only one for that. Left, please.
Power up, please. Let go. Please, all together.
Thank you.
Please. You know we can't give that right. All together.
Can we start again here? Would be nice. Yes, please. Straight ahead, please, please. One more. And excuse me, everybody please. Okay, two more. Thank you. Right in front of you. Go together. And again here, please. Here, please. This corner. Yeah, thank you. In the middle. Hold it to me there. Don't turn to the very left. Hold a little bit.
Thank you.
To the very left, Please. Sorry. Nice.
And then please in the corner again. Everyone all together, and get away. Yes. Yeah, that would be nice.
I'm so sorry, beautiful people. Everybody look out. In the corner. There we go. Thank you. No, not the way. Okay, so in the corner. Thank you. Yes, please. Straight ahead. Look up. Straight Yes, that's the one. Okay. Looking around. Look up here. Look up, please. Yeah,
A glamorous Berlinale premiere as Berlinale's special gala entry, Golda, a portrait of the Israeli Prime Minister, directed by Israeli director Guy Nattiv, who rose to fame with his drama Skin, about a young man who rejects his Nazi past. Now he tells the story of Golda Meir in the time of the Yom Kippur War in 1973, her difficult strategic decisions, but also how she has to give account later because this war caused a lot of victims. This famous woman has already been played by Anne Bancroft or Ingrid Bergman, this time hardly recognizable in the leading role, Helen Mirren, winner of the honorary Golden Bear 2020 as Golda.
Mr. Secretary?
You are to open a humanitarian corridor to the Third Army, Golda. We cannot allow 30,000 men to die of thirst.
We'll send them water when we've got our prisoners back.
I will try to arrange.
And Sadat agrees to direct talks with Israel. Not the Zionist entity, Israel.
That would be tantamount to recognition.
Yes.
He will never agree to that. The Arab world will turn against him.
If he doesn't, I will order my planes to attack. All those men will die. All of them.
The destruction of the Third Army would force Sadat from power. He'd be hanged in Tahrir Square.
Well, that thought should focus his mind.
And he would be replaced by a Soviet hardliner. You know this as well as I do.
You mean a madman bent on the destruction of Israel?
The Russians are on high alert. They are preparing 11 airborne divisions. Do you understand?
Do you think I don't know that? Let me tell you about the Russians, Henry. When I was a child in Ukraine, at Christmas time, my father would board up the windows of our house.
Golda.
To protect us from Cossacks who would get drunk and attack Jews. They would beat Jews to death in the street for fun. My father would hide us in the cellar. And we'd stay silent, hoping the killers would pass us by. My father's face, Henry. I will never forget that look. All he wanted was to protect his children. I am not that little girl hiding in the cellar.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Photos.
Helen, one straight ahead.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. All right. So, if everyone can please take your seats so that we can start. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. So thank you, good afternoon, and welcome. Welcome everyone to the 73rd Berlinale and to this afternoon's press conference for Golda. Before we get started and open up for questions, first I want to introduce you to the film team that's here to present the film tonight, which will be world premiering in the Berlinale Palast. So first, I'm introducing the screenwriter and producer, Nicholas Martin, my far right. Actor, Lior Ashkenazi. Academy Award-winning actress, Helen Mirren. And Academy Award-winning director, Guy Nattiv. So we're going to open it up to some questions. We'll start here in the center, yes? Center, yes.
Hi, I'm working for the French news agency AFP. Could you tell us what were your factual sources for the story? Did you work with the autobiography of Golda Meir, or did you do a lot of research about her and her decisions?
That's a beautiful question for Nick over there.
I mean, there's been a tremendous amount has been written about Golda. I think there may be 100 biographies, and I started with them. But the story that we ended up with is quite a new take on her leadership during the Yom Kippur War. And I think much of the story that we've told is really from some quite new documents that have been declassified in the last 15 or 20 years. So it was, you know, I ended up with my Golda library. It got to, piled up on the floor, it got to my knee, and then it got to my waist. And then when you get onto Henry Kissinger, that man really writes a lot, and he has a lot to say, and just the Henry Kissinger chunk is sort of from about my knee up to my thigh. And so it was really trying to find the story within this mass of information, and then condensing it down into the essence of what Golda did during those fateful 2 weeks, and really to try and capture. I felt that was the story I wanted to tell. That's the story we told, because it was the story that really captures who she was, her toughness and indefatigability. So I looked at everything I possibly could and talked to everyone I could, and that's the story that emerged.
Hello, it's Natalia Zhuk from Ukrainian Moviegram. First of all, thanks for the movie. I've been waiting for it for some time already. I've got two questions. One, maybe for the whole team. It's about, the toughness and the situation when no matter which decision you make, there would be a lot of people who would be unhappy with this decision. And what do you think? I think maybe it's more for Helen. How did you find the strength in your character somehow? And how did you answer this question to yourself? Where did she take the strength to persevere her way and not to be distracted by all their side effects, which are also very serious? And the second very short one about the smoke, a lot of smoke in the movie. Is it like more a metaphor, or she was just a very avid smoker and that's it? Thank you.
Well, just quickly to say, yes, she just was a heavy smoker. She literally had a cigarette in her hand, all day and all night. So that was the quick answer for that one. Guy, do you want to deal with the other questions?
Oops, is it working? Okay. First of all, the smoke is kind of a metaphor of the, kind of the smoke in their eyes. They couldn't see what's in front of them. They couldn't see the truth. They smoked themselves to death. So it's the smoke over an inner physical situation, but also the smoke of the commanders, and so the smoke is a metaphor for the entire movie. What was the other question?
Well, the difficulty of making the kinds of decisions that Golda had to make at that point in time.
Well, Golda was not a soldier. She was more of a stateswoman, and she relied on the commanders around her. But the problem is that the commander around her lost their shit, in a way. So the entire war, she didn't know what to do. One told her 50,000 soldiers, the other one 20,000. So she was trying to make decisions and control the situation and calm everyone down. So I think it was a very challenging situation for her. And she didn't want to be prime minister because she was they told her just go, and she said it's not something I want to do, and she found herself in this junction. It was very complicated for her, but she managed to somehow balance everyone.
Hi, my name is Anna from ZDF. Hi, first off, congratulations on portraying yet another very strong female in a historic power position, Dame Mirren. Congratulations for that. Thank you for the movie. And my question to you is, Golda Meir was probably a very complex character to play, I imagine. She was loved by many, she was hated by many, and despised by maybe some. So what fascinated you most about her, and also kind of hinting on the question that started, what was maybe most tricky about her playing her character? And then to all of you, we heard it prior, of course, Golda Meir was portrayed by Anne Bancroft and Ingrid Bergman in the past. Very different movies, indeed, but yet, did you ever reference them? That's the question.
She was an incredible person to enter into and to experience from within, if you like, which is, obviously what we have to do. I came away from it with the deepest of admiration for her and indeed a kind of a love for her. She was extraordinarily brave, and with a commitment to Israel that was total. And in a weird way, it was a bit like playing Elizabeth I of England, in the sense of, not because she had the regality or anything, but her utter commitment to her country and to her nation. The absolute total dedication of her life to that was, and she achieved it with such, without being a sort of power-mad, sort of dictatory type character at all. She was, she was very maternal. She was very sort of, she loved, and this is something I have in common with her, which she absolutely loved kitchen equipment. The latest mixer or, and I actually have that in common with her. I'm always buying, the latest kitchen equipment. So, she had that wonderful domestic side to her. At her happiest, she was on the kibbutz looking after the chickens. She always said that's really, but life took her in a different direction. And because of her love of Israel and her dedication to Israel, she took that path and went on it. So it was an amazing character to inhabit. And just to reference the earlier question, of course, I did watch some of Anne Bancroft playing Golda, and especially Ingrid Bergman, who was quite wonderful. But then from that point on, you make it your own. And we were very specifically dealing with, it's not a biopic, it's not her whole life. It's just this little section of her life when she was most challenged. And I thought that was a marvelous idea, Guy's idea, just to take that section and really concentrate on that. And yes, I read a lot of books, obviously watched a lot of video, but I always find playing these characters, I like to look at their life up to the age of 20. It's really how they were as children and how they were created as children. And it's very interesting, and I love the fact that Guy references that in this film, and as we just saw about her talking about growing up in the Ukraine and what she experienced, and those experiences are the ones that form you, I believe.
And continue a little bit what Helen said. My inspiration was Das Boot, in a way that she's in the trenches. She's in one location, she cannot leave, and she's very alone in this mayhem of the war around, these men. But I wanted to keep it and to emphasize the sound rather than going out to the war and see all the horror. So for me, that was the DNA from the beginning.
My name is Mahar Sigit, Africa Refugee News. Hey, you went a long, long way from Panorama to the Oscars.
Hello to you. How are you?
No, I'm really happy to see you again. I didn't know it was you just now. I
appreciate it.
This film is terrific because my friend who was in the war wrote me tonight. He said this was a bloody war, he lost friends there, so this will open scars in Israel. Are you prepared for that? Because really...
I am prepared for that, and as an Israeli, I grew up with this knowledge that Golda is a complicated character, and this is the Vietnam of Israel. And going with this knowledge to portray Golda and the commanders, we addressed that in the movie. So you didn't get a sweep, clean picture of, again, Helen said it's not a biopic. It's a very tough and hard look at the war and every soldier that dies and getting killed. Golda takes it to her heart. And so it's, for me, it was going with my eyes open and hear all the comments, and it will evoke reaction. But we also, Golda is not a super clean character in this movie. She has her faults, she did mistakes, and she took responsibility, which leaders are not doing today. She did. And eventually she resigned. So I'm willing to start the discussion in Israel. Can't wait for that.
Hi, question from Brazil, Rodrigo Fonseca, o Estadão. I have two questions. The first one for Mrs. Helen Mir. Whenever Golda addresses to Kissinger, we hear the word Henry, the name Henry, a sign of friendship, a sign of trust. I would like to understand your perspective about this friendship and how was it built during your acting with Liv Schreiber. And a quick question to you. Throughout all the film, we see television showing the facts. I would like to understand your point of view of the importance of TV to that war.
Well, we were very excited when Liv signed up for the film because for a long time we had no Henry Kissinger, did we? And we'd started the film already, and we still didn't know who was going to be playing Henry Kissinger. So, we were very anxious about who we might get, and it was a great day when Liv signed up for it. Yes, Golda and Henry Kissinger did have a, I wouldn't say a close friendship, but clearly there was some sort of chemistry between them, that they sort of understood each other on some level. I'm sure that Henry Kissinger respected Golda enormously, and certainly vice versa. And obviously America was so important to Israel. One of Golda's great achievements in the early days of Israel was going to America, long before she was president, to collect money for Israel, to try and get Israel going. And she was enormously successful as a fundraiser. And so she had this relationship. Oh, obviously, she was American anyway, actually. Yes, they did have, I think, a very, very good relationship. I mean, it was challenging because they were both pragmatic and people fighting for their own point of view. It wasn't plain sailing, far from it.
And can you repeat? Sorry, can you repeat the second part of your question again for Guy?
TV. Yeah.
Thank you.
So in 1973, the Israeli TV was in its first steps, right? So you suddenly saw all the 16mm footage from the war to all the houses. So that's what I wanted to bring. Also making the movie in one location, I wanted to have a little of those images of people running in the streets, or and all their speeches on the TV. That was the first time that a leader spoke to the people. It didn't happen before, so it was important for me to show that the Israeli TV is broadcasting these monumental moments. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you so much. Sanders Bernstein, Jewish Telegraphic Agency. 2 questions. First one about the script. The film ends with Golda Meir and Enver Sadat sort of bonding, discussing their grandchildren together, and I was curious as to why, how you came about thinking about that ending. And then the second one has to do with reception. Golda Meir, famously institutionalist, and here in this film over and over again repeats, "I'm not a soldier," and is very, very differential to the division of powers as they stand. And what is the significance of it arriving today, which is such a momentous and dark day for Israel's Jewish democracy and institutions?
Shall I start with what was the first one again?
What was the first question?
Sorry, the first one again.
The first question had to do...
Oh, the ending. That's right. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's a film about a war, but all Golda wanted was peace. If we're going to get peace, very often we have to fight a war first of all, and we're unfortunately seeing that right now. I think that she had a very friendly feeling with Sadat at the end, and that comes through in that clip. And I think she just. The crowning achievement of her life was really that through this war and through her actions, Israel and Egypt made peace. That peace stands today. Egypt and Israel cooperate a great deal, often in secret, on all sorts of security matters, and that border is secure and reasonably peaceful. And that, I think, is her crowning achievement. So I think that my gut feeling I remember seeing that footage. I was 10 years old in 1973, and I can remember that footage on the TV and seeing her. And it just seemed to me that this is the perfect ending for a film which is really kind of an anti-war film. But that's all Golda wanted, was safety for her children and for her grandchildren. And she achieved a great deal.
Igal Avidan, I work for the program Shalom on Deutschlandfunk, among others. And I wanted to ask Guy, first of all, when you were a child, you learned that Golda Meir was a hero. Later on, you discovered that she's the one behind the 2,569 dead soldiers. Did your view of Golda Meir change through the film, through doing this film? And in which way? And the second question is the pogrom, which she didn't actually experience a pogrom when she was 4 years old, but she experienced the way the family was protecting their house. Her sister Shaina got a knife and so on and so forth. Maybe Nicholas Martin can say something in which way this pogrom has influenced her decisions also in the war, which we see here, her mistrust and Israel should be above everything and very strong, and in which way this also hindered her to accept a peace offer in 1971, and maybe we would not have all this war.
just talk about just the pogrom?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I think that the image in her, I think in her autobiography, she said she describes hiding in the cellar with her father, and it was this look on his face that, you know, when she grew up, she says to Kissinger, "I'm not that little girl hiding in the cellar anymore." And for me, it sends a shiver up my spine just to even think of her, this determination and what that meant to her, what, you know, to see her father so afraid and so humiliated and desperate to protect his children. And I think that this feeling she carried throughout her life, and it made her
and therefore the need for Israel to exist. That was, I mean, to me, that was her driving energy and force and spirit, was the understanding that Israel must exist. There must be somewhere for the Jewish people to be safe. Yes. And you know, rather than a sort of personal thing, and herself and her family, it was for the people to have somewhere. So I felt that was incredibly important. And as you said, the look on her father's face, yeah.
Okay, so for me, she was a myth. You know, she was like the Iron Lady of Israel. And then she became a 50 shekel bill icon, you know. And then after that, I didn't know anything about her rather than all the official war stories, right? Until 10 years ago. And then the secret came out and all the, you know, stuff from the war room. And then I discover her, you know, that she was sick and she fought through the war, and all the anecdotes that I didn't know about her, and that's what kept us wanting to tell this story, because she was flesh and blood suddenly. She was human, and I don't think that Israelis have this vision of Golda, you know, who she really was. And I think this movie will kind of open, because people didn't know she was sick. She was hiding it. And this handkerchief operation that sneaked her into the hospital, you know, through the dead. It's just stuff that I didn't know and fascinated me, and she became a real powerful woman to me.
I think also what I didn't understand, or I didn't realize until we made the film, what was the impact of the loss of this generation of young men on Israel, because there were so few young men in Israel. You know, it was a very young country, and it hadn't really dawned on me until we made the film. You know, it was the loss of a generation for Israel. That you know, it was a small country with not a lot of young people. So to give, you know, such a huge, comparatively huge number over to a war, and to lose them in this war was just absolutely traumatizing for this little country. And you know, Golda took the weight of that on her shoulders, unfairly, actually, as it turned out. And she never complained, and she never put the blame on anyone else. But actually, and she was vilified, wasn't she, Guy,
yeah.
in Israel after the war, absolutely vilified. And it actually wasn't ultimately her fault. I mean, it was in the sense that she was the one in charge. So, of course, you know, the buck stops here, so to speak. But, you know, she never tried to put the blame on anyone else. She squarely faced it, which was another element of her courage and her character.
Yes.
Hello, Helen Barlow from the Australian newspaper. Hi, Helen.
Hi.
You, I believe, gave a speech about the Queen at the BAFTAs yesterday. I mean, she lived a lot longer, amazingly. Could you compare the two roles? In a way, you've had a very self-contained face. Did you have any prosthetics for this, or was it just makeup? And could you compare the two roles? And Lior, how much did you know about your character and of Golda growing up, since you're Israeli?
Do you want to start, Lior?
Well, you can start
Right.
with the prosthetics.
Gentlemen. Yes, I did have makeup, obviously, a lot of makeup.
She's humble. 4 hours in the makeup room.
Yes,
4 hours every day.
every single day and take them off as well.
Yeah. An incredible makeup team, incidentally, 2 young girls who were just wonderful. And also costume, incredibly important. So those elements, whatever character you're playing, you know, the costume and the makeup is very, very important. It's a part of the creation of the story, really. So very, very important. And you know, a great tool to enter into the character. And it always sort of rather surprised me at the end of the day when I took it all off and that was me again. Because I got so used to being, you know, looking in the mirror and being that person.
I actually didn't see you
for a long time.
For 35 days.
Yeah.
I saw Golda.
Yeah, and he saw Golda.
I think it's
yes.
the first time I see her as...
yeah, that's the first time.
Yes, that's true. We only ever saw each other. No.
Yeah.
Yes, because I arrived before you guys, and I left after you guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's true. Yes. So yes, incredibly important, and you know, you're in the hands of artisans and craftspeople who are brilliant at their own, you know, in their own field, and our makeup people were fantastic. Karen, our head of makeup,
is Karen here?
I don't know if she's here, but which is a shame. She
Okay.
could tell you more about it, but she's with us, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just compared to the Queen's self-contained kind of visual?
I don't think Golda was really like the Queen. No, as I said earlier, if there was an equivalence, it would have been probably Elizabeth I, in that sense of utter dedication. Of course, Elizabeth II had that as well, so I guess on that level. But no, I think Golda was a more emotionally expressive person, maybe, than Elizabeth II. She had the ability, which all leaders have got to have, of being contained within a public sphere. You know, you can't be emotional all over the place. But I think she was a very passionate person, but very practical as well, enormously practical.
And compassionate.
And compassionate, yes. Passionate, compassionate, and practical, yes.
Leo?
Leo. Yes, Leo, yes. Leo, please.
What was the question, sorry? Dado, yes.
Dado.
Yeah, Dado.
I was 4 years old when the war started, and I remember after the war ended, I remember my father talking about Dado, the chief of staff, because he was the only one who was blamed about this war. I mean, the politicians were cleared because they came ready and with their lawyers or whatever, and he was the only one who actually, such a tragic character. And as I was researching about the character, about Dado, and reading the protocols from Kippur War, and it was, I mean, Israel actually won because of him. I can't say won because we didn't won this war. I mean, you can't say that, but he was the one who actually took command in the cabinet and with Golda, because she put him in charge because there was a chaos there. You can actually see it when you read the protocols, and it's like Dado and Golda were together in this generals thing, and he actually he was the the engineer of this winning. But again, he was to blame for the for what happened, and that was so tragic. And so we tried to bring the truth into the screen in a way.
And he got a heart attack. He got a heart attack a few years after the war. Yeah,
just after the war. Yes.
Yeah.
He couldn't clear his name. So.
Unfair.
Okay. Yes, I think we have time for, I think, one last question. Yes.
Hello, Kate Connolly from The Guardian newspaper. With no disrespect to your striking performance, Helen Mirren, and also directed to Guy. I just wondered whether what debates you have had in the making of this film, and now that it's come out, about the questions about authentic casting, and the debate that there has been, particularly in the UK, I don't know about elsewhere, about whether Jewish people should be playing Jewish parts, or whether actors should just be allowed to act. I'd be really interested to hear how your thoughts on this might have developed. You've also said that this is a legitimate question to ask, Helen. Thank you.
Yes, you can start.
Okay. Hello there. I can tell it from my point of view as a director. When I met Helen in my house, I felt like I'm meeting a family member, like an aunt, you know. So I felt that I'm meeting someone from like a Jewish person, because for me she's got the Jewish chops to portray Golda. We spoke about Golda for 4 hours. She totally got everything, every nook and cranny, everything in his character. And for me, other the fact that I adore Helen, and I think she's, close your eyes, close your ears. I think she's one of the best, you know, actresses in the world. Okay, you can. I just found her very authentic to me. Now, one of the terms for me to direct this movie, to surround her with Israeli cast, to bring Israeli editor, and to bring Israeli more people from Israel to make it more kind of like, you know, so I would feel that I'm making an Israeli movie, right? And that helped a lot to have Leo and all the team here. But I totally, from my end, there's no doubt for me. And that's why I was so surprised to see this reaction, because, and Helen said something very smart. She said, okay, so let's say only Jews can portray Jews. But what about Jews not portraying Jews? Is this not allowed anymore? So it's like limiting us in such a way. And I think that Israeli and Jewish actors have no limitations and they have no problems to portray, you know, around the world. You can see that. Israeli actors are in international shows. And so for me as a Jewish Israeli director, I had no problem with that.
Can I give my
yeah, sure,
50
please.
cents on that? Let's say tomorrow's a movie about Jesus Christ. Who's going to play him? A Jew or a non-Jew?
Well, it won't be me.
I can tell you the two of Golda's grandsons are here in Berlin, and they've seen the movie. They're absolutely thrilled, and they're very, very thrilled that Helen played their grandmother, and I think that counts for a lot.
Yeah, I spoke to Gidi, her grandson, who spoke to you, Nick, before we started, and he said, absolutely, it was my idea to have Helen, and then it was just a no-brainer.
Oh, thank you.
And before we close, Guy, any last things that you want to say about the film, about the experience of making this film?
Wow, it was just, it will sound cliche, but I'm so honored to tell this story with Helen and all the team, and Michael, our producer here, who did everything possible for this film to happen, and Nick, your brilliant script. I mean, it was something I would never forget, and thank you for all your generosity. Helen, you're just amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Well, we'll have a wonderful and beautiful premiere this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.